Major methods of psychology. Experimental method. Purpose to establish a cause and effect relationship between variables. How it works. The researcher deliberately manipulates one variable, the independent variable, and measures its effect on another variable, the dependent variable, while controlling for all other extraneous variables. Key features. Random assignment. Participants are randomly assigned to either the experimental group receives the manipulation or control group does not receive the manipulation. This is crucial for eliminating confounding variables. High control. The environment is carefully controlled to isolate the effect of the independent variable. Example. A researcher tests the effect of caffeine, independent variable, on memory recall, dependent variable. One group gets caffeinated coffee, the other gets decaf. Strengths allows for conclusions about causation. Weaknesses can be artificial, not all variable can be ethically or practically manipulated. Second, correlational method. Purpose to measure the relationship between two or more variables that are not manipulated by a researcher. How it works? Researchers measure two variables and use statistical analysis to determine the strength and direction of their relationship, expressed as a correlation coefficient R, which changes from -1 to +1. Key terms. Positive correlation. Both variables increase or decrease together, like study time and exam grades. Negative correlation. One variable increases as the other decreases, like stress and immune system function. Zero correlation. No relationship exists between the variables. Example. A researcher surveys students to measure their daily stress levels and their average hours of sleep, then calculates the correlation. Strengths. Useful for studying variables that cannot be manipulated ethically, like trauma. Allows for prediction. Weaknesses. Correlation does not imply causation. A third unmeasured variable may be causing the relationship. 3. Descriptive observational methods. This category aims to provide a detailed snapshot of behavior or phenomena as it occurs naturally. A naturalistic observation. Purpose to observe and record behavior in its natural setting without any intervention. Example. Observing children's social interaction on a playground. Strengths. High external validity. Findings are realistic and generalizable to real life. Weaknesses. No control over variables. Observer bias can occur. Case study. Purpose. An in-depth detailed investigation of a single individual group or event. Example. Studying the cognitive function of a patient with a rare brain lesion like Finney's gauge. Strengths provides rich, detailed, qualitative data good for studying rare phenomena. Weaknesses findings may not be generalizable, low external validity, vulnerable to researcher bias. Survey C. Purpose to gather information from a large group of people by asking them to self report on their attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors via questionnaires or interviews. Example. Conducting a national poll or political opinions. Strength can collect a large amount of data from a vast sample quickly and cheaply. Weaknesses sampling bias if the sample is not representative, social desirability bias. People may not answer honestly. Psychological testing. Purpose to measure specific psychological constructs such as personality, intelligence, aptitude, or emotional functioning. Example administering an IQ test or a personality inventory like the MMPI. Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. Strengths provides standardized, quantifiable data, allows for comparison. Weaknesses tests must be reliable, consistent, and valid. Measure what they claim to measure. Cultural bias can be an issue. Summary table for quick review. Method, purpose, Okay. Leave this. This was stable, but in PDF format, it got spoiled. Sample exam answers. Short answer question. Name and briefly describe three major research methods in psychology. Three major methods are the experimental method, which where a variable is manipulated to establish cause and effect. The correlational method, which measures the relationship between two variables without manipulation. Three naturalistic observation, which involve observing behavior in its natural setting without interference. Application question 4 to 5 marks. A psychologist wants to study if playing violent games, video games, increases aggressive behavior in teenagers. Design two different studies for this topic, one using an experimental method and one using a correlational method. For an experimental method, the psychologist could recruit teenage participants and randomly assign them to one of two groups. The experimental group would play a violent game for 1 hour, while the control group would play a non-violent game for the same time. Afterwards, aggressive behavior would be measured in a control setting, like the intensity of blast of noise they administer to a confederate. This design could establish cause and effect. For a correlational method, the psychologist would survey a large sample of teenagers, asking them to report for the average number of hours per week they play violent video games and to complete a standardized questionnaire measuring their typical aggressive tendencies. Thus, researcher would then calculate the correlation between the two variables. This method would show if a relationship exists but could not prove that the games caused the aggression.